Hello, hello, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. My name is Agnes van Rijn. I'm a life and business reinvention mentor at Success on Your Own Terms, where I help women at crossroads step into the driver's seat of their life so that they can reinvent it. And with the clarity and the confidence they gain, I then help them with the systems and the tools that will ensure that they work on their business and not in it. Today, it is my pleasure to be talking with Karen Trepte. Karen Trepte is an intuitive business coach for entrepreneurs with big hearts and even bigger dreams. Her superpower is turning soul whispers into business brilliance and translating confusion into clarity. She learned the ropes by starting numerous successful businesses, including a flower shop and multiple MLMs. She even used to carry her daughter on her back to sales calls. Karen's motto is work is joy, and she definitely exudes it. Welcome, Karen. How are you?
Thank you, Agnes. I'm just thrilled to be here with you today. It's been such a pleasure. We've had a few tech glitches along the way, and that's just part of the online business world these days. So here we are.
Absolutely. So today it works. Champagne. That's what we should be doing.
Yes.
So, Karen, tell the listeners a little bit about your journey. How did it all start for you?
Well, I've really had quite a few journeys, and I've actually been coaching since I was in high school. And I just decided that this is really my life's calling. Let's see, I won't take you all the way back, but I'll take you back, let's say maybe 3 years ago or so. And that's when I had just finished getting my MBA and my Master's of Asia Pacific Studies degrees at the age of 50.
Wow.
And I
graduated. Good for you.
Thank you. And I was working at the University of San Francisco, and I had pretty well outgrown my job there. And my daughter had this fabulous opportunity to go to the Middle East. And she's like, "Mom, will you come with me?" And that was just another big jump that I took in the series of my life's jumps that I've taken all along.
That's superb. So this is really about reinventing yourself. So obviously you were no longer carrying your daughter on your back.
Yes.
I hope not.
Yes.
And so from there, what did you do?
Well, I went over and I taught first grade to 27 very active Arabic children. And then as I was there for a matter of time, I actually started tutoring. I won't give any names, of course, for privacy reasons, but to several branches of the royal family over there.
Wow.
And that was really fascinating to me. And the message that, well, I traveled with Up With People International out of high school. I grew up in Tokyo, Japan. And so the message that I really want to share from working and living in the Middle East is one of peace. And that's so passionate to my heart. That really, as much as people see differences, that people are really the same in their hearts and in just wanting to have a nice life all over the world.
Yeah, so, we all have that in common, I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yes. So from there then, as I was tutoring the royal family members and eventually went exclusively to doing that rather than teaching, then I took Marie Forleo's B School, which I absolutely loved, and just decided to have my own business for Gaijin Works Coaching.
That is superb. So how did you, I'm just rewinding a little bit. What made you, at the age of 50, start your studies again?
Okay. I didn't know how far back you wanted me to take this, but actually, okay. I've really been out of the box like all my life. Like after high school, instead of going directly to college, I traveled around the world with Up With People International for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the hippie years, and I was singing and dancing about peace
Mm-hmm.
and doing public relations for them in different countries as well. So what made me go back to school? Well, when my children were little, I had done quite well in school and got into several Ivy League colleges, but corporate life just wasn't for me. I kept going into corporate and my heart kept like tugging at me because I missed my children so badly. And so I decided at a very young age that I pretty much just dropped out of the corporate world and decided to run my own daycare in my house instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my sweet parents were a little shocked, to say the least. And, bless them, they had spent and helped me really get a great education. And I had started at that time, even running the daycare, I went back to work on my master's degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, as the dean of the school even said, I was going to USD at that point, University of San Diego. He said, this really isn't the right time. And as much as I just yearned for that education and yearned for getting my MBA way back then, he was totally right. It wasn't the right time. And that was a decision that I made in my life to stay home with my children that I'm so incredibly grateful for that decision. It certainly put the brakes on my corporate career, if you will.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I got those precious years with my children. And as you realize as a mom, those years just don't come back.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
How old are your children now?
Well, my daughter is 40
Mm-hmm.
and my son is 33. So when my husband moved, we've invested. I've also built my first house at 21 years of age and was very heavily involved in real estate development and flipping homes. And so one of those times when our family moved and then my husband got a new job, we landed in a new city, which was San Francisco. And my daughter said to me, she goes, "So Mom, what are you going to do now?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then I said, "I think I'm going to go back to school." And so that's how I got back. And then I did. I enrolled. I was lucky. I got in. Those credits that I'd taken in my younger years, I think I only got 3 credits back for life experience. But anyway, I started in that classroom of much younger students, and it was a huge challenge for sure. And I did it. So that's how I got it.
Congratulations. Now, when you started talking about that, I thought it was important that you could tell us that part of the story too, because obviously I'm sure that out there are women who believe that it is too late to pick up their studies. And well, you obviously are a very good proof that it is never too late. So great that you can share that. Thank you so much. And
yeah,
so
I really do encourage women out there just to follow their dreams, to know that, I think Louise Hay started her business around the same age, around 50 years old, and look at the empire that she's built. So.
And so the only word of caution I would add on that piece of going back to study is that don't go back to study just because you believe that you don't have enough baggage to set up a business or whatever. It has to be for the good reasons. Because that's something that I see quite often as well, is that women will want to be, over prepared, etc. And in fact, it's because they don't dare do the jump. They don't dare, or they think they, will not be credible enough if they don't have the label that that works for it. So I'm not saying not to go for a study, but make sure that you do it for the good reasons.
I
So
totally agree. It's not necessary to go back to school to have your own business. That's true.
not systematically, at least, yeah. And so so once you came back from Middle East, that is when you did set up your business, your current business?
Actually, I set up my business in the Middle East.
Oh, you did there?
I did in the Middle East. So I've been talking to clients. So this is we're on Zoom today, but this is very familiar to me because I did all my business
on Skype.
On Skype from the Middle East. So, yeah.
And so what made you choose so tell us what you're doing today to start with, because I know, but not everyone will know.
Well, I have Gaijin Works coaching, and I really just have a lot of fun untangling people's businesses, and with the aim not only of making their businesses more profitable, but also making them more joyful, making them feel happier in their business. That's what lights me up, is to be able to work with folks, and we focus on their strengths and we focus on what's really working for them. And one of my favorite classes to go back in my MBA course was business strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a single mom before in my life. So I've been through a divorce. I've been through a lot of life circumstances that are definitely challenging.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through years of my husband, who's in construction, being unemployed when the 2008 crash occurred. So I've seen other speakers talk about this too. It's almost like God's sense of humor, that whatever you're going to be coaching about, you're probably going to get a fair dose of that in your own life. And I would say that overwhelm and stress, which is a lot of what I coach around, and just bringing people to clarity of what I give them, specific action steps. Okay, we're taking the chaos out. We're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what you do next. That's all you do. When you finish that, we go on. So I've gotten a lot of training in that, and having to focus. And most recently, having lost my mom and having had her live in our house with Alzheimer's at the age of 90 years old, her funds had run out. That was definitely one of my biggest challenges anyway in my life, was dealing with that. And so I really had to just go back to the drawing board, Agnes, and I had to say, okay, let's take good advantage of my own message, if you will, and just use my own strategies, and to bring into the present time, and to focus and to deal with that situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not the first time that I'm referring to that, but quite often our clients will have gone through a series of life circumstances, but when we are in that situation, we tend to forget, or at least we tend to think that we're the only one. And when you start listening around, we all have our lot. We all have this roller coaster of life hitting us. And being able to share that story makes us, or helps others understand that talking about it and sharing it and being in groups that are supportive, etc., is really the way to go, as opposed to just taking it in and not knowing how to deal with it. So where does that, what I really love with you is that joy that you are exuding. And I must say that I'm myself not exactly a person that is exuding the opposite. But so where do you get that from? Because it is a life changer to have so much joy in your life.
Thank you, Agnes. That's very sweet. I choose to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to be happy. And another tool that I use, I almost forgot to mention, I do want to mention because I'm pretty excited about it, is that I've been working over a year on what's called feng shui, time management. And I do have an online course. And that does actually tie into your question because I grew up in Japan, because I grew up in Tokyo, I have a lot of the Asian influence that I bring into things. I have my intuition that I bring into things. And I have this, Western traditional MBA background, the practical part. I think it's all important. It's all balanced. But with the time management, I always say that we create our time.
Yes.
And I have carried around a Franklin Covey organizer. I don't anymore because I have it all digitally. But my daughter used to tease me about that. She's like, you want to know what mom's been doing? Open her book, this page, here it all is, it's all organized. It's all right there. And even though I was teased about that, that was invaluable to me, because when I was building houses and doing project management, it was invaluable to be able to open that book and, okay, here's the discussion with the plumber. Here's the discussion with the electrician. What is our interior decorator going to do? So I really love to share about time management too. And then I think that by managing our own time well, knowing what our strengths are, that it's easier to be happy. And I do think that it also involves a choice. I'm not always happy. I'm not Pollyanna. I, cried very hard for hours when my mom passed.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it's not like that's always, and yet it's in my head, like, I want to get back there. I know she's here. I know there's challenges. Okay, what can I do to not only take care of her, but to take care of me? And I think that's come from the years too, because when I was younger, I was always only taking care of other people.
It's funny because I'm discovering that we have much more in common than I thought. Well, I knew we had quite a few things in common, but there is more than I thought. And time management is definitely something that I work a lot with as well. You should see my diary. Well, it's electronically again now also, but still, everything is in there. And yes, you do bring me back to a few years ago, must be 5 years now, where I took care of my father during 6 months before he passed away, and where there was also this mix of very difficult emotions and decisions and etc. But still having that capacity to see beautiful things in life, and to be able to 1 minute, you remember that, you remind me of that 1 minute being in completely in tears, and the moment after to be smiling because of a beautiful landscape that I was seeing or whatever. I mean, it does make a difference when you can do that. And what I like what you say about that is that it's by choice, because that's exactly the route I went also. I have also spent my life, I'm the eldest of 6, I've always spent my life taking care of others. And at some point I decided that it was time for me also. I think that fundamentally that nature is always there, of course, which is why we do what we do.
Right,
I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But this notion of making conscious choices, knowing what it is that we want for ourselves, and from there to focus on it. So it's okay to sidetrack. Life is there.
Right.
So there are moments that we sidetrack, but how do you get back? And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I talk in my blogs about gratitude. I talk about the importance of just, taking some deep breaths. And really, when I work, I'm so fortunate I can look out my window and I can see the pear trees and the apricot tree and see the little squirrels run by. And I so firmly believe that it's really important to, they always say, take time to smell the roses. That
Yeah.
it's really, and especially when we see these life changes, our parents perhaps passing away or somebody else dear to us passing away, it's just more of a reinforcement to me that I want to live, that I want to be happy, that I want to take good care of myself.
I'm completely with you. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back, Karen, also to your journey in the sense of at a later stage in life, setting up your own business. What are the challenges that you have been facing in that process?
Well, that's a great question, Agnes, because actually I've had my own businesses for decades now. I mean, I set up my own flower shop practically in my early 20s. Then I started developing real estate, and I have that business. The biggest challenge for me, and you'll hear some shaking in the background, that's my beautiful German Shepherd. She may join us on this call, I'm not sure. I don't know, honey. My biggest challenge that I've had has really been the switch from doing more brick and mortar businesses, more what used to be a traditional business, to running an online business. So I would say one of my biggest challenges has been technology. Just like we encountered, this is time number 3 for us, finally getting the tech to work. And we both thought, oh, well, why isn't it working? It's always worked in the past. And it turned out that Zoom's servers were down. I mean, that's wholly out of our control. In fact, I have a time management webinar that I gave in Hong Kong, officially now China, and had my first webinar all set up. And, we talked about the Franklin Covey and the trying to organize every little bit. And life just isn't like that. It's just, it's important to be organized, and it's important to know what we want to do. And it's also important to just be able to let it go and say, okay.
Oh, yes.
This is a flop. We ran up against, I even have a blog on that, 10 ways I bombed on my first webinar, something like that, because there was a firewall in China. There was a firewall in our hotel room. But anyway, we got the audio to work. So if anybody wants to hear that webinar, it's out there. But the rest of the tech sure as heck did not work. And they're just have to laugh about it. There's nothing else to do.
When there is nothing else to do, I think that is really the key. You better laugh about it instead of crying about it.
Yeah. And you see, I always kind of take, my heart goes out to them, and I'm reminded how human it is when I see some of these really big time players. They have tech stuff go on too.
Yeah, it happens everywhere. Absolutely.
It happens everywhere. And I think that's one of the things I want to encourage our audience with, if you are just starting out your business, and to reinforce a point that you made, Agnes, is we are not alone. I think for me, it was so easy for me to say to myself, oh, this is not my generation. This is not my strength. And I hire a lot of team to help me because I like working in my zone of genius. Yeah. But it would be so easy for me to say, oh, I just can't do this because I'm older. And it's not true. It happens to anybody. It happens to the 20-year-olds too.
Yeah, absolutely. Technology, it's interesting what you say, because I see it quite often that it's, I think, being used as an excuse. In fact, they're afraid. And yeah, then when technology stands in the way, it's easy to say, oh, I'm too old for that. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you and I are both examples that it is not true. It doesn't have to be like that. So I think that what I will retain from our conversation is definitely this notion of knowing how to go with the flow as well, because that is really key. And you talking about time management. I've spent years running time management trainings, but I have loved discovering Einstein time. It makes so much of a difference. I love it when suddenly you try to control everything, and it's, things stand in the way, etc. But when you let go, you go with the flow, and it turns out that it works also. I mean, I love it.
Too. It works too. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has been a life changer for me, definitely.
Good.
Any tip you want to give to the audience? Do you have anything particular?
I would say stay in that flow and ease as much as possible. To really, I would say maybe one of the biggest tips I can give is to be kind to yourself. Know that these things take time. It takes time to build a business, whether you're online, whether you're building a product, whether you're running a daycare, as I did for 10 years. I mean, it takes time to build all of those. So just be kind to yourself. Make sure that you take care of yourself along the way. It's really easy to get into burnout mode. And people say, oh, no, that's not going to happen to me. But I mean, I laugh all the time. I think one of the best speakers I ever heard, she was talking about, okay, so you gave up your corporate job so you wouldn't be working 40 or 60 hours a week anymore. And now how many hours a week are you working? Like 80 or 100? What happened to the vacation days? What happened to the sick days? They aren't anymore. So we really have to build that into our own schedules too, and just make sure that we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I wrote a blog article about that. I don't remember exactly how I'd called it, but something along the lines of how you recreated the rat race you left from corporate and what to do about it.
Yes, great title.
Yeah, exactly. It was something along those lines. So Karen, where can people find you?
Okay, so the way to pronounce Gaijin is to think about, I tell people, although I've told a couple of gentlemen this, and they're like, oh, Karen, it's not too bad, but it is a little sexist, but to think about a cute guy in jeans. And that's like,
Gaijin.
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 So I'm at gaijinworkscoaching.com. And Gaijin, actually, I talk about it on my website, but it has a much deeper meaning to me, because Gaijin means foreigner in Japanese.
Yeah.
Because I grew up as a foreigner almost my entire life. I went to first grade in Panama, so I was a gringo there. And then a Gaijin in Japan for maybe 13 years. And then in the Middle East again. So, and sometimes I think I just felt like I was out of the box anyway. I just wasn't in any of those normal categories or something. I think there's a lot of people, a lot of women and men who feel that way, actually.
On a reduced level compared to you, I have experienced that all my life, being raised by two Dutch parents, but living in France. So the whole, system of education, etc. And France and the Netherlands are in theory close to each other, but they are so incredibly different. And I do remember that I've always been attracted by international environments. I've always lived and worked internationally. And I always had this feeling of I'm a citizen of the world. In fact, I never felt like I was French. I never felt I was Dutch, really. And now I'm in London, so it's still, of course, in quote unquote civilized and close to each other type of countries, but still, I know that feeling, yes. And I wonder how my daughter will be experiencing that, because my son is generally speaking living in France, but my daughter has studied in France, has studied in Boston, in California, also in London. She's now in Shanghai, so I wonder what that will generate. Yeah, but she loves it. She loves it. I do love those international environments. Yeah.
Excellent. And I do believe that the world is shrinking. I mean, really,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
it's here we are chatting, having a good time, and we're not halfway across the world. The Middle East is halfway across the world from where I am, but still, yeah.
Super. So, Karen, do you have anything special you want to add for the listeners? They know where to find you. Do you?
So if you would like to have my free ebook of 3 steps to get out of overwhelm, feel free to go to my website and download it. It's a free copy, and we've gotten some great feedback on it. So love to chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen. I've really enjoyed it. And so for our listeners, if you too want to either create your dream or reinvent your life and or business, you can go to www.anyesvanrijn.com, and that is ANYESVANRHIJN.com, to book a reinvention consultation with me. It is complimentary. Thank you so much. And Karen, thank you again. Bye.
Very well.